Our Great King Street range of whiskies has very much been inspired by the past, by the great whiskey makers of the past, the great blending houses from Scotland from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And there's some very specific lessons we've learned from some of the old books, the archive books that we have, about how whiskey makers made blended Scotch whiskey back in those days. And I want to read you from a chapter from a book Alfred Barnard wrote in the 1880s, a chapter that was called The Art of Blending Scotch Whiskey. And he talks about three really important things to making great quality blended Scotch whiskey. The first is good wood, the importance of good quality active casks. He writes, "It's a false economy to fill bad casks. Fair proportion should be sherry wood and the remainder second fills." Well, as a company, we are fanatical about the quality of oak and using different styles of oak. Secondly, it's about marrying, the process of blending whiskies together and then putting them back into wood, back into cask for the flavors to integrate before bottling, something that we have always done. He writes, "Delicacy and flavor can never be developed in a blend unless they are first married, so that after the blend has been run off, it should lie in wood from 3 to 6 months before being used." And that's the minimum we tend to marry. All great King Street whiskies are married, and that helps the flavors reach a new equilibrium. It makes it taste better, frankly. Thirdly, artificial color. He writes, "We must warn our readers against the use of artificial maturing concoctions. They only make the whiskey bilious, the cause of a bad head and an ugly taste in the mouth in the morning." Well, we have never colored any of our whiskeys. Great King Street is completely natural color. And then those are the three things. And then there's this bonus. He gives a recipe for a blend. He says, "By request, an example of a blend that has been most popular both home and abroad, average age, just 7 years." You can do that if you're using good quality active casks. And the thing about it is, 75% of this blended Scotch whiskey is malt, single malt whiskies. 25% grain whiskey. That completely flips on its head the way most blended Scotch whiskies are made today. It was blended Scotch whiskey based on malt whiskey as opposed to grain whiskey, which most standard blends are today. Great King Street, inspired by this, our Glasgow blend and our Artist blend, both predominantly malt whiskey based blends. That's how you make great blended Scotch whiskey.